Hi, and welcome to Cloud Computing for Entrepreneurs. This webinar will explain the concepts of cloud computing as it relates to running your own business. My name is Adam Weisblatt, and I'm a consultant with Whiteleaf Consulting. We specialize in helping companies to create understanding to remove the barriers to creating value. This course is in 3 parts. What is cloud computing? Focus on the business process and what you need to know. This part is what is cloud computing. We are going to go into the basic concepts of cloud computing, what it means. There's a lot of buzz around this term, and a lot of companies are using it to market their products and they make it sound like cloud computing is something specific to them, whereas there's thousands of applications that come under the heading of cloud computing. And so what I'd like to do today is to clarify exactly what this term means and where it came from. So let's start with the typical entrepreneur and how they have things set up now. Most of them have what we call the server in the closet. There's a network that somebody set up for them that provides services to the computers for the people who work there. So you got this guy who comes in to the boss and says, "Dude, I'm fixing your network and you've got to upgrade." And so there's the upgrade costs, the maintenance costs, and the need to constantly be monitoring this equipment. And of course, it's so easy to use and fast that nobody ever complains. Although we see somebody here being fairly frustrated with the lack of speed and performance. Here we have a salesperson getting ready to leave the office with their laptop, but notice it's not connected, and all their papers are falling out, symbolizing the fact that when you leave the office, when you have a network, everything that you have been working on is stuck in that server in the closet. The goal of cloud computing is to get the server out of the closet. So the cloud computing definition that I like to use, and remember, everyone has their own definition, it's the idea that people shouldn't have to own the equipment or technology or any software, that they don't have to if they can get someone else to own it and just rent the service. Now, cloud computing has become a new buzzword, but that doesn't mean that the idea is new. Here we have our good old friend Bill Gates. As a young boy, Bill Gates got very interested in using computers in the 1960s using something called a teletype machine. And all a teletype machine really was a terminal to connect to mainframes out in what we would call the cloud. As far as Bill Gates knew, it might as well be in a cloud because he didn't ever see the service. But he had to pay for his time, which was expensive, and he could only use it when the service was available. So Bill Gates hated the cloud at the time because there wasn't enough computing capability for it. So he had a vision that prompted the building of his company Microsoft, a computer on every desk. His feeling was that if the shared services were not robust enough, that everybody should be able to have the equipment that they need right on their desk, and they can take care of it themselves. The problem is that over time, as computing capabilities have gotten bigger and the computers have gotten more complicated, that desktop computer now is fairly slow and is expensive to maintain because you're trying to maintain that equipment yourself. Whereas what we would call the cloud, the shared services over the internet, has become more robust. People are able to get to resources much faster and much cheaper. So there's been a bit of a switch, and now the cloud services, these shared services, very similar to what Bill Gates used back in the 60s, now they make sense. You already use these services. You have online banking, you use social media, you use probably Google for maybe your email or for your documents. You have pictures that are printed by over Snapfish. You check the your status of your packages on FedEx. You print out your tickets from the airline. All these things are using technology that you don't own. You are simply using the service, and that is what the cloud means. Let me give you an example. I hate fax machines. There's just something about them that drives me crazy. Put you have to put paper into a machine to turn information into electronic bits. You send it over the wire for another machine to print it out as physical paper, and then you have to retype that information into a computer. It makes me nuts. I do not want to own a fax machine. It ties up my lines, and it's just a major hassle. So I use a service called Ring Central. Basically, they do the fax machine for me. So I give people an 800 number, they fax that 800 number, and Ring Central sends me an email. Therefore, I do not need to own the technology. So that's the very smallest example of a cloud service. Now let's go to the biggest example, so it might as well be in a cloud. Microsoft is a software company, but it's also a data company through its video games and its online services. It produces a lot of data. In order to manage that data, you need monstrous data centers, which are very costly and have tremendous infrastructures that need to be monitored. Microsoft doesn't want to do this, but their friends over at Dell do have data centers and are in the data center business. So all Microsoft does is they rent the data center capability from Dell. For as far as Microsoft is concerned, those data centers might as well be in a cloud. But for them, it means that they don't have to own the technology. So here you have a very big spectrum, right? From my little fax service down at the bottom to Microsoft's massive data centers, covers the entire scope of what cloud services are. In this course, because we're focusing on entrepreneurship, we're going to concentrate on a type of cloud service called SaaS, software as a service. The theory being that if software as a specific technology is something that needs to be upgraded, it needs technology to support it, and if you don't need to own that, then you could just rent software. You could use services that are online and let somebody else have the headaches of monitoring it. So that is an explanation of what is cloud computing. In the next section, we'll discuss what parts of the entrepreneur business lifecycle lend themselves to cloud computing, and what tools are out there that are good examples of what can be done with the cloud computing platform. This has been Adam Weisblatt. Thank you very much.